Hi, I'm Mac McCarthy, and I help people with their breakups. And today we have another gem of a show because they're always a gem. Today we're going to be talking about why breakups are more common in the future. And this is something I've talked about before, but let's get into it again because it helps us understand when we're in a breakup what's going on. It's not just you. A lot of times it's environment, society, these ads that are running constantly in the background. Cavemen didn't have this stuff, right? 1950s didn't have this much commotion about relationships of what it should be and what it should not be. And it's always interesting to me because there's some clients that I have that'll be like, I just want a normal relationship. I just want a normal relationship. Actually, a lot of female clients of mine will say, I just want a normal relationship. Well, what's normal in 2022 for a relationship? I think the ideal relationship, you need to identify that as an individual, not what you believe it is from TV or friends, family, or colleagues. Because a lot of times, let's face it, your friends, family, and colleagues' relationships that you see are very surface based, and they, by all means, could be great, grand, and wonderful. But sometimes there's some things going on behind the scenes that you have no idea about because they don't want to share that shit with you. And then when they break up, you go, what? Carrie and Jonathan broke up? I can't believe that. They were so good together. Have you ever had that happen? Happens all the time, right? Shocking. Oh my goodness. It's like, well, you didn't know him as well as you thought you knew him. Chris the Critic, welcome. On deck today, we have some basic questions if you're watching the live stream or if you are watching it after it's already been live. Why get married? Why break up? Why be in a long-term relationship? Why do people bail on a good relationship? So those are questions you can touch on in the comments below. Give me your take. Perhaps you have an opinion about those things. And let me punch this one home. It's all an opinion. It's all an opinion. So whatever you answer to those questions, those are your opinions based on your bias, based on your life experiences. There's no right or wrong answer. Unfortunately, there's a lot of people out there that think their opinions are facts. So today, this is the opening quote that I wrote out for you folks today. The world now has many more choices of lifestyle based on the internet. We are all exposed to so many more options on how to live, what's right, what's wrong, what would be best for us. At any given moment, we can research anything. We can buy anything. We can chat with people around the world. Our options have vastly expanded. There are studies and articles everywhere that can help you build a case for what you want to believe, or better yet, what someone else wants you to believe. Here's my suggestion. Be very honest with yourself and what you want. If you want kids, I'd strongly consider marriage and finding a woman or a man that would be a great parent, not just a great lover or provider. But here's the thing. We all don't live under the same circumstances. Someone that grew up in poverty is more likely to highly value a rich partner. Someone that is rich and highly values pleasures and showing off will highly value an extremely good looking individual. It's best you look around at your friends, family, and colleagues, and then look at the relationships they have with partners. Which ones do you find admirable? Do you say, I'd like a relationship like that? Ask those people how they did it and why it worked for them. Do not ask someone's advice that is in a relationship you'd never want to be in. And always, always keep in mind, most people are going to give you advice based on their personal experiences and what was taught to them. Nobody holds the holy grail to all relationship advice. They are just telling you what they would do and what they like. So recently, I was at a restaurant. I was by myself. I was waiting for some takeout food. And this guy walked in with his buddy, and they were sitting at the table next to me. So I overheard him talking. And this guy was dressed real sloppy, massively overweight, probably in his 20s. Had some shoddy sandals on, kind of like Birkenstocks with sweatpants. His belly was hanging over his sweatpants. Big beard. Cool, man. Got a laid back lifestyle. No problem. That's your style. No problem there. Okay. And I hear him talking, and he goes, "Man, she's just a common hoe. She's a hoe, man." So I thought he's talking about some random girl that's a friend of a friend or something like that. And he's going on and on. She'll go with anyone. She's this, she's that. He's talking about Will Smith and Jada Pinkett, right? The whole situation. He's going on and on about Jada this, Jada that, all these horrible words and names being called. And I think to myself, would you ever even have a chance with a woman like that? So, why is this guy clinging to this negativity, this relationship that he'll never touch? He'd never be with a woman like that, nor would a woman like that be interested in him. Yet he's got a say on it. The people live far away from him, and he knows who she is. He knows who Jada is. He knows who Will Smith is. Based on what? Media? News articles? TV shows? I mean, this guy was convinced she's a hoe, man. That's what he was like on and on and on about it, right? Why would someone like that be so involved in someone else's relationship? It's not a friend, family member, or colleague. He doesn't know the people, but he knows so well who she is as a person, what she does in her free time. What does that do for him? Does that make him feel better? And this is what a lot of people do. They're spectator on spectator, right? These Hollywood people, you don't really know them. By the way, they're actors. They're actresses. Their life is drama. They actually get more attention and more draw to them by you talking about them. And by doing that, they do audacious things. They release things about themselves that other people wouldn't. But my point is, someone gets caught up in that, right? Right? They get caught up in other people's stories. Not even just other people's stories, but people they don't know. I mean, it's not firsthand information, is it? All right, so let's get into first question. Why get married? Let's talk about that for a moment. Why get married? Now, if you ask different people this question, they'd have different answers, correct? I'd say kids, family, money, and to join families. Commit to a long-term relationship. I call it the love pension, which means if you stay together throughout marriage, do death do us part, probably in those wonder years or those older years, it'll be a lot more worth it than the middle years. Thick and thin, I believe religion helps here, or having the same code of conduct, having the same morals and values. But to me, kids, family, money, and to join families would be big reasons to get married. Now, there are actually people out there that want to get married to have a big wedding, that want to get married to please their parents. I've met them. I've talked to them directly. This isn't secondhand information. So right there, someone might go, oh, that's a horrible reason for you or for them. Really get clear on that. Why are people getting married? What's the reason? Right? Now, I would say that hundreds of years ago, it's just what everyone did, like drink water. It's what you do. There's not really a choice. Where now it's kind of thought about a little bit, right? There's enough information out there. We got this thing called divorce. You know people, if you have a big enough circle, that have been divorced. You know people that have had bad divorces probably. So marriage is not just this given thing of this is what you want to do. For a lot of people, it wasn't a good choice. So why have a long-term relationship? And to me, long-term relationship doesn't have that vow that we'll be together till death do us part, but we're committed, we love each other, and it's been about 2 or 3 years plus. So here's one. Here's my answer. It saves you time and stress. Now, people are going to be surprised at this because you actually, when you have a long-term relationship, when you're no longer a free agent, you're dating, there's some time consuming things with being in multiple dates a week or the anxiety of being alone. So a lot of times a long-term relationship saves you some time and some stress. There's some glorified um, actors and singers out there that live these, lives of hooking up with multiple people, and it's great and it's grand, but there's some downfalls to that. But also, if let's say you have a full-time job and your career is a big deal to you. Okay, let's say that you're making really good money, you're working 40, 50 hours a week. Um, it's going to be really time consuming for you to juggle dating in there. Because to me, really, when you're single, um, I believe that you do want to date multiple people in order to make a good decision on who to settle for. And that takes a lot of time, takes a lot of rejection. That's the part where I always tell people go on bad dates. That's part of the process. When you just settle for the first person that comes that hooks up with you and you have good intimacy and does some things that you like, but you don't really, like everything about them or you're not on board, look out because that's going to bite you in the ass later on. You settled. Same with a job, right? You settled for something you really didn't like that much. And over the long term, it's going to be a problem. So being in a long-term relationship actually saves you some time and stress that you have a partner, you have some intimacy waiting on you. It provides more certainty, or you would hope, right? Because one of the biggest things people come to me out of a breakup, what's going to happen next? People hate uncertainty. It's safe to have a long-term relationship. I would hope so. You always want to be that person. They make you feel good most of the time, I would hope. They support your goals unconditionally, I would hope. They help make you better. Very simple statement, but very powerful. And you do the same for them. So those are the reasons to have a long-term relationship. They make you better. They make you feel better. And you can rely on them. Why break up? This is a good question. This ties into why breakups are more common. So why break up? Well, if you're not married, a lot of times people go, well, we're not married. I don't want to marry them. And this isn't marriage material. Why break up? You feel you can do better. Being alone is okay. You have no interest in having kids. You aren't going to be with this person for the rest of your life. Now, that's a big one, I think. I think that's one that's changed, especially people in their 20s. I think that goes through a lot of people's heads, especially these early to maybe even late 20s. When I get someone that's in a relationship with someone early to mid 20s, and there's situations where there's someone in their late 30s with someone in their mid 20s. The person's honestly thinking, Is this the last person I'm gonna be with? I mean, you ever meet someone like 22, 23, and they have all these aspirations about what they're gonna do? I remember I met a guy. I used to play basketball at the YMCA, and we had a run where we'd play king of the court. So there's like 20 people, and you meet up at lunchtime. So you get to know these people. And this kid was like a fresh 18, right? And at the time, I believe I was about 24, 25. And I looked young when I was 24, 25, even though I was already young. So I think he thought I was 18. And one day he goes, "You're 25? What? What?" And I said, "Yeah, I'm 25." And I just had finished college. I graduated college a little later because for years, I was working full time. So I was going to school part time. So that was a big judgment call for him. You just finished college?" I said, "Yeah." And then I was doing real estate at the time. So I just got my real estate license, this, that, and the other. And he was like, "Oh," and he was just looking at me with shock and a little bit of disgust, right? And I said, "Well, what is this?" I thought you were like my age." So I said, I could tell he thought. So I said, "Where do you think you're gonna be at when you're 25?" "Oh, I'm gonna have this car. I'm gonna go to these places. I'm gonna have these jobs." He was gonna be a police officer and a real estate agent at the same time. He had all these aspirations, and you know what? Good. Maybe he fulfilled them. Maybe he was goal oriented. But my point is, someone like that's got 5 different directions, a lot of aspirations, a lot of things that they want for them. Probably long term with a partner, it's not gonna ride. Because they're gonna get to a point where, like, this is the last person I'll ever be with. Because there's a lot of that going on, especially for men. There's a lot of people out there that wanna get it in. What do I mean by that? They wanna hook up with multiple people. They wanna see what it's like. They wanna get their numbers up. They wanna have those experiences. It's in movies, it's in music. And so you get someone in their 20s, and especially a guy this is a big one, a guy from about 35 to 45, that's about the sweet spot. And they get into a serious relationship with a woman that's about 21 to 26, 27, and the guy's madly in love, and the guy will always tell me the same thing, "I'm in great shape, man. I look good for my age." And a lot of times the guy has a business or he's doing well financially, and he's absolutely spun on that woman, and that woman leaves. She's extremely flighty, up and down and all around. The reason is you're not gonna be the last person she's ever with. She's got aspirations on living a life of fun, a variety of adventure, right? Most of the time, she's not gonna settle in. So this happens again and again. Why break up? You aren't going to be with this person for the rest of your life. They do more things I don't like than like. Someone just randomly texted me on IG and they're hot. I get this all the time. Everyone you know ends up hating their relationships or being stuck. This is a big one, right? How many more how many people out there have a friend, family, or colleague that's in a miserable long-term relationship or marriage? I'm one, right? And the ironic thing is, just taking my breakup coach cap off for a little bit. The ironic thing to that is when they first got married, they were pushing me, "When are you gonna get married?" Right? And I was like, "Well, it's not my thing right now. I'm fine." And I was in a long-term relationship at the time. And they were really pushing me as a friend. I don't get pushed in that way. I'm a leader, I'm not a follower. Always have been that way. So it didn't bother me too much. But now that guy years later is in a really bad marriage. I mean, he's miserable and he doesn't see a way out. Now, when you witness that, doesn't it make you take 2 steps back instead of 2 steps forward on marriage? seeing other people in bad relationships, it affects people. Going back to the Will Smith and Jada Pinkett, shouldn't they be so happy because they're rich and famous? Who knows how happy they are, by the way? How many articles do you read on being married as a good option these days? I don't really read articles that often, but I'll tell you this. I said it in the opening piece on this broadcast, if you will. Bottom line is you can make a case either way. I've heard people interviewed that are, this is what you do. Married couples are better together. Um, the idea that marriage is good for you. There's one. I think her name is Sue Johnson, and I was thinking I'll probably review that podcast by itself with Tim Ferriss. It's 2 hours, and studies show this, studies show that. It's what's interesting about studies is they're only so big. They don't cover the world, and they certainly don't cover you. And a lot of times people throw around studies as if they're absolute gospel for you. And so, studies show that married couples have more sex. It's like, really? What were the demographics on that? And who did you ask? Or how about marriages are up or marriages are down? So, how about accounting for the people that are married that lie that they're in a happy relationship? I mean, the amount of people that I know that have broken up or gotten divorced out of a marriage and been in it 10, 15 years, and they say the last 3 years sucked or horrible, they should have never got married, but they're still married on paper, right? So a lot of these numbers get skewed. My point is, you can make a case any way you want on the internet now. If you want to make a case why marriage is good, you can find a lot of material on that. If you want to find a case why marriage is bad, you can find a lot of material on that. Be honest with yourself. What is it you want? What's at the essence of what you want? If you want kids, I'd say marriage is a good way to go, right? You want your partner to be in it long term with you. If you don't want kids, I don't know if marriage is needed. That depends on you and your morals and values. What does your circle of friends and family believe in? Now, this is a really good question to ask yourself. If you took the top 5 closest people, right, in your circle, this could be friends, family, or colleagues. Maybe make a quick list of this, or maybe just do it in your head. Do they believe in marriage, or do they believe in playing the field? Or they believe, do whatever you want to do? They're going to affect your thoughts and beliefs. Now, what a lot of people do is they don't realize it, but they will be affected one way or the other. So, for example, if you have parents that are really strict, and they also, let's just say, highly believe in marriage, right? It's like my clients that are of Indian descent. They deal with a lot of parents being involved in their decision, telling them who they can get married to and not, right? It's a big deal. Now, what you'll do with that as a human being is you can go one of two ways. You could either reject it completely and hate marriage just in spite of being forced or imposed that thought value onto you, or you can go the other way and submit to it, right? It's like the old adage that a lot of the girls that went to Catholic schools and whatnot, they would rebel quite a bit. So it can go two different ways, but it does affect you. It does affect you. It certainly affects a lot of people when their parents want something for them and they have a close relationship to their parents. I will get to the comments soon. Stay with me. So just think about the top 5 closest people to you. What do they value? Do they value marriage? Or do they not? Do they value staying in a long-term committed monogamous relationship or not? And how much does that affect you? Next question. How many married people do you know that recommend you get married or get into a long-term relationship? This is a really good question. Think about that for a minute. Friends, family, or colleagues, first 5 that come up, they're married. They're in a long-term committed relationship. You go to them and you go, hey, what do you think? Should I do the same thing? First of all, they're going to give you their take based on their own relationship. But I would say at least 50% would say, don't do it. What people don't realize too is there's always someone in the relationship that's getting a little bit of more of what they want or a lot more of what they want. They get their way. And that person's generally happier with the relationship. But over time, the other person gets resentful of them. And it builds and builds and builds. All right, I'm going to get into the comments, and then I'm going to touch on a few articles I pulled up from Google. So we got Chris the Critic, Todd C. Tits or tires, sooner or later they will give you trouble. Todd C. They kept that comment away, but I like it. Truth of Love, the great Truth of Life, excuse me. The great Clutch, Morning Mac, finding a lot of good points in what you're saying. Keep it up. Thank you. Chris the Critic, marriage to me shows how much you love each other, and it keeps STDs out of the home, hopefully. Well, those are 2 great reasons. I guess marriage on a committed level would show how much you love someone, if that's how you value it. It would hopefully help from STDs, which is a real thing. So those are 2 good points. So really quick, I pulled up and I'm just going to read this. So this was a Time magazine article that I pulled up off of Google. And rather than show it to you, because it's got all these ads on the side, it's kind of annoying. I'm going to read through it a little bit with you. But, Time magazine's a pretty big publication. It's got some status in the journalism arena. Correct me if I'm wrong. And the title of this was "The Divorce Rate is Dropping." That may not actually be good news. The divorce rate is dropping, right? So this was written in 2018, November 26th, 2018. And like I said, I'm just going to go through this like I go through a story. Have you heard of the statistic that half of all marriages will end in divorce? It's wrong. Even if that many marriages ever did disintegrate at one point, they don't now. Divorce is on the decline and has been since the 1980s in America. So right there, let's just take this article for what it is. They're talking about America specifically, not the world. When that 50% divorce statistic took hold, experts now put your chances of uncoupling at about 39% in the US. So 39%, okay? Experts. This is what's great about articles like this. So who's the experts? This sounds like such promising news. Families are sticking together, but in practice, this does not mean more people are living happily ever after. The drop in divorce statistics seem to be in large part due to the much maligned millennials making their marital vows stick far more often. So correct me if I'm wrong. If the millennials are getting married, they still have an opportunity in the coming years to get a divorce, right? So this is one of those things. How do we know they're going to stay together for the next 40 or 50 years? One recent study says that compared to their 2008 counterparts, young people in 2016 were 18% less likely to get divorced. So this is where these kind of articles get me a bit. One study, right, shows that 18% are less likely to get divorced. That study has not been peer reviewed, but is echoed by the trend in the UK, which keeps much more robust divorce data. Young Brits' marriages are 27% more likely to make it through their first decade, the prime divorcing years, than those who got hitched in the 80s. So have millennials cracked the code on having and holding as long as they both shall live? Not exactly. One reason divorce is less common among that age group is that marriage and all of its advantages, from survivor benefits for Social Security to healthier children to a lower chance of heart attack, is becoming more selective. I'm sure that's a big one. People get married and they go, you know what? I'm really considering getting married because I'll have a lower chance of heart attack being married. Once considered a starting block for young people, a launch pad to get them underway as they took the plunge, getting married is now more of a high diving board, a platform for publicly demonstrating that they've achieved. So according to this article, if you get married, you're showing people you've achieved. The people getting all those marital advantages are those with the most advantages to begin with. So guess where this article's headed? Census figures released on November 14 show that the median age at first marriage in the U.S. is now nearly 30 for men and 28 for women, up from 28 and 25 in 2003. Wow, that's so startling, Time Magazine. This does not mean that millennials have stopped living with someone they fancy, though. Cohabiting is becoming a norm in westernized countries. In 2018, 15% of folks age 25 to 34 live with unmarried partner, up from 12% a decade earlier. So this is where, when you read these articles and they just throw these stats together. So in 2018, 15% of folks age 25 to 34. So you have a study that tested everyone 25 to 34 in America? I don't believe that. More Americans under 25 cohabit with a partner 9% than married. So the stats just get more and more diverse here. Young couples are delaying marriage not because they're waiting to find the one, but so that they feel financially secure. So now this article is taking a stand on knowing why people are getting married. So now that there's no stats involved in this is what's true, folks. And as jobs for those who stopped their education at high school have become more tenuous, and as income inequality has pushed the have-lots and the have-somes further apart, that security recedes further into the distance for a lot of young couples. For a lot of young couples, what does that even mean? A lot. So people are living together, and if it doesn't work out, they're splitting. What's not to like, right? No alimony, no attorneys. Isn't that why they're living together in the first place? Not exactly. There are two types of cohabitation. The type people do because they're almost sure they found a good match, but want one more run through to check. And the type people do because it solves a looming liquidity, logistical, or loneliness problem. Studies have shown, but there's no studies have shown in this article that relate to this directly. Low-income couples tend to move in together sooner than college-educated ones, and those couples who move in together sooner are less likely to get married. All of this would be nothing more than bad news for the wedding venue industry, except that often cohabitees whose togetherness is the result of happenstance rather than planning often become parents. So this article goes on and on and on, but let me just go to the last paragraph. So yes, the people who are getting married are increasingly staying married, but that group is an even smaller and more privileged group of individuals. Marriage is becoming one of the many institutions from which the poor, less educated, and disadvantaged are excluded. And this isn't just sad because more than half of those who have never married would like to be. What a bullshit. So an article puts, and this is sad because more than half of those who have never been married would like to be. So how do you know that? How do you know that half of the people want to be married that have never been married? It's sad because it compounds the difficulties of those who already face considerable challenges. Here's the thesis right here. Ready? Marriage or long-term committed relationships between two people that's meant to support is both subject into contributing to inequality in its current form. It's making the climb out of poverty just that much steeper, which is not romantic at all. So basically, if anyone stayed on that, right, divorce rate is involved with, and getting married has implications of being affected by how much money someone gets made, how much money someone makes. Okay. Are people more likely to marry someone that has more money? Oh, I would never do that. I would never consider if my partner made more money or didn't. But when you say if you're going to be with this person for the rest of your life and they did well financially, that would affect your reason for getting married to them. The history of marriage has been supported by this, right? So my point is this article has all these stats, all these reasons, right? Half of people do this. Let me tell you something, folks. Okay. Bet on yourself. Make sure you know what you want. You can go through these articles and, oh my goodness, oh, this is true. Oh, what's true about you? Really, what's true about you? I mean, reading that article, tell me if I'm wrong, it was boring, but there's a lot of stuff out there imposing. Well, studies show this. Half of people do this. Oh, by the way, this is just about America. But here's the thing. A lot of these studies, like people age 25 to 34, did you ask everyone that's 25 to 34 a detailed set of questions on marriage? Or did you just get like 5,000 people and now, or 10,000 people, and now you go, well, studies show this is what the stats are saying from 25 to 34. It's just ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Take inventory and an honest self-assessment of who you are and what you want as an individual. What's right or wrong for you? Reading some of these articles, my goodness. So here's another one, by the way. Psychology Today. There are more single people than ever. Here's why that's not a problem. Half of unpartnered Americans are not interested in finding a partner. So right here, I'm just going to give you the titles to this. How would you know all the unpartnered Americans are not interested in finding discussions of the Pew report, PEW, often obsess about romantic prospects. If men are falling behind economically, will women still want to marry them? Don't they want men who are at least in the same league as them? And if the women don't find suitable men, they may end up single. Last year, Pew published a report about the romantic interests of single people. Those who were not married, not living with a romantic partner, and not in a committed romantic relationship, based on a national random sampling of Americans 18 and older, they found that 50% of those single people are not interested in a committed romantic relationship, and they are not even interested in a date. So you did a random test or study that says 50% of people living alone don't want to be in a long-term relationship. So I'd say how many people is in that study? We can dissect that bottom from top. But then I'd ask, well, how many of those people maybe have a side piece? How many of those people are seeing someone on the regular? What's taking the place of having a partner? Here's another title to this article. For many, single life is a great life, better than any alternative. People who fearmonger about the growing number of single people have an old-fashioned view of a single life as a sad fate that some people are stuck with. It is true that some single people long to be coupled, but as I just showed, not nearly as many as our prevailing narratives would suggest. For people who are single at heart, single life is their best life. It is more joyful, fulfilling, and meaningful than than any alternative. For them, even for some who love living single but are still open to coupling, single life offers profound rewards. Okay. Again, folks, you can make You can make a case about anything. This is my point. You can make a case why marriage is good. You can make a case why marriage is bad. You can make a case why single people are living their best life ever. You could make a case why um, dating multiple partners is best for you. Because when I was a kid, I'm 41 now, right? I used to have to go to the library to do research, right? Right now, you could just Google some question that you have, and it'll have umpteen opinions, umpteen things, and then you can hand pick which data, which studies suit your biased opinion. Okay, and a lot of these articles have an agenda to get your attention, right? Well, the question too is like, if you're asking people questions about their marriage and their single life, and this is a study, how honest and direct are they going to be? Right? How honest and direct are they going to be? And always when you read these articles, what do they want you to believe? Good question. The growing power of single people and 10 important trends. The number of single people is growing in the US and all around the world. Number 2, the research is documenting the strengths of single people and the benefits of single life. The good news about singlehood is getting serious media attention. I mean, it goes on. The important people and the experiences in the lives of single people are getting recognized. Time alone is good. I mean, it just goes on, right? The bottom line is, like I said, know what you want. Know what you really want. I mean, what do you really want? Right? Okay, so let me get into, I did have a short story that did come in. If you have a story you want to send it in to writemac.com, WRITEMAC.com. If you want to book a live coaching session, that's still on deck. You can go to my website. The link will be down below. If you want to go on any of the social media platforms, go for it. Hey, coach, I just broke up. Hey, coach, I just broke up with my ex 2 days ago. Sorry to hear that. Fresh wound, is it? Let me just check this real quick. Okay. We've been together for over 2 years. I'm 26 and she's 28. She's got a really bad drinking problem. Only she doesn't feel that way because she works hard and doesn't cheat on me. Okay, so this is what happens. Alcoholics, drug addicts, what they do is to divert the attention from them, from what they're doing wrong, they find reasons or build a case, as I like to say, why it's not that bad, or some are very crafty at flipping it onto you and saying, well, you drink sometimes, or you do this wrong. It's not me that's so bad. She always measures this against her father, whom was verbally abusive and cheated on her mom. So it's a classic case of, I'm not that bad because I've seen worse. I told her, yes, she's not that bad, but still she does bad things like drinking and driving, which she has already got 2 DUIs, and next she'll face jail time, I believe. Well, I mean, some people are motivated by consequences. Some people are motivated by rewards. Most people, when they're going to make a change, are motivated by consequences. And for consequences to be real, they really have to happen. So, her getting a DUI twice and somehow getting out of it, keeping her license, maybe she's got to hit ground zero, right? Consequences are in place to give people wake-up calls. If there's no consequences, why change? Yet she still drinks and drives. The latest issue was her spending the weekend with her best friend, where they were together doing some scrapbooking, and she came home trashed each day. Wow, drinking and scrapbooking. Interesting. She had all the excuses and then got verbally aggressive, telling me that I was weak and just boring. Well, here you go. Now she's verbally abusive, as was her father. And again, this is taking away the accountability of you got drunk at your friend's house scrapbooking. Now, here's what I would say. Did she get a ride home? I mean, so you gotta realize where is your line on this? Is it about her drinking and driving? Is it about her just drinking too often? Is it about her health? What are you most worried about here? But I will tell you this, my friend, the message isn't getting through. If you've been with this person, it says over 2 years and they started drinking, she's 28, she's still in her 20s, two DUIs didn't do it. You telling her don't do this because, or I don't like this because, it's not going to be the ticket. It's not going to be the golden key to get her to stop drinking. Okay. I know that's hard to hear. I didn't know how to have fun. She said, I didn't know how to have fun. I just erupted and told her I was done with her. I don't plan to get back with her, but I do already miss her and really do worry about her well being. Of course you do. You were together 2 years. This is your girlfriend, right? This is where it gets really tough. Yeah. I know she'll be drinking extra every day with me not there. So I guess in the past I was an enabler. Yeah, you can call it that. You can do some research on that. Um, but you have power to unbecome an enabler. I've already read up on being codependent and an enabler. I don't want to be that person long term. So that's a definitive statement. If you're 26 years old, it's a good time to realize that, because going into your 30s, you don't want to become better at being an enabler or a codependent. So how should I proceed so that I don't go back or keep feeling such guilt for leaving her when she has this problem? Well, the guilt issue, it's good that you recognize that. So that's what's steaming you up right now, is that you're worried about her going out and driving, you're worried about her getting too messed up. I'd recommend us do a live coaching session. There's something called the emotional freedom technique, which is tapping meridian points. Is something that I've been certified in and I use with a lot of clients now for anxiety, worry, guilt, things like that. I'll be doing that more and more. I'm probably going to be doing a Zoom class with that with clients soon. But the important thing, you've identified the problems very clearly. Okay, she's an alcoholic. No excuses made about it. You don't like it. You don't want to be with her. You don't want to live with her like this. You've been with her 2 years. You've got a sample size of it. She's had some consequences with the DUIs that haven't made her change, right? She's not going to change anytime soon. You're not going to talk her into it. The guilt's going to be there because you're worried about her. She's your girlfriend. You can't just turn off feelings like that. You're going to need to get some therapy out of this or some coaching. You're probably going to need to come to someone like myself or someone else out there, because you're going to need to sift through this. It's not one of those things that you can just turn on or turn off. And she's going to be using what she knows works best to get you back or to get your attention, or better yet, push you away so that she can become the victim that gets to drink more. So there's two avenues you can go here, but neither avenue is one you want to be on. You did the right thing by being honest with yourself. I don't want you to get too much in the enabling and the codependent thing as something that you are. This is something that you're going to overcome. This is something you don't want to be long term. Okay. So I'd recommend you book a live coaching session with myself. We can get it a little bit deeper with this, and I have a lot of experience dealing with this kind of thing. Had an alcoholic parent for years, and the list goes on. So I know where you're coming from. But the important thing is for you to take a line in the sand and say, I don't want this long term. Okay. This is the thing you got to know. Your intentions are good. They're not bad. Who you are and what you want, they're good. But the reality is you're not going to change this person, not anytime soon. And maybe you leaving her might be the consequence she needs, but that can't be your sole reason. You're 26 years old. You got a lot of life left. You don't want to be a career enabler, right? Laura A says, thanks for helping to normalize singledom, Mac. Well, I don't know if I normalized it, but like I said, you can make a case about anything now with the internet. You can make a case about anything. Divorce rate was dropping before COVID, says a great clutch. What's up, Macaroni? Says Dragonfly81. Marriage is the ultimate commitment. I think for life scares some people. Stability, I think, does play a big part, but it's more than that. What's more than that, Dragonfly? Marriage is the ultimate commitment. We should talk about data management and survey biases. That sounds like a really, really big topic. So, data management or survey biases, there is a bias, right? There is an outcome that they're looking for in a lot of these surveys and studies. All right, folks, we got 4 on deck, 4 likes. We had a few people in and out. If you have any comments or questions, I got about 5 minutes left. We'll be on deck all week this week, 10 a.m. Pacific time. So if you want to join the live stream tomorrow, let me just. It will be back on deck. And I'll just. So if you have a topic that you'd like me to touch on, just like the great clutch just did, we should talk about data management and survey biases. That's possible. If you have any other topics, you can put it in the comments below that you want me to touch on later on. I want to thank Chris the Critic for being first, throwing some comments in. Todd C. Truth Alive, Dragonfly 81. We were both born in 81, which is special. And Laura A. Thank you. Is this Laura from Oregon? Otherwise, it looks like it's going to be curtains. Thank you kindly for rolling. And I will be back on deck tomorrow, 10 a.m. Pacific time.